In 1969, humanity landed a man on the moon. This absolutely crazy, previously unachievable task took thousands of PhDs, years of research, and trillions of dollars in combined effort. Not to mention absolute faith and belief in the fact that it would work. Now imagine you making $1 million, earning it while doing what you love and being happy, successful, and fulfilled. Is a life like this really that hard to achieve? Absolutely not. We landed a man on the moon, and you're trying to tell me that you can't make $1 million? Everything you've been taught is wrong. Hey, what's going on? My name is Dan Vas, and I want to welcome you back to the How to Make Your First Million course. Closer and closer, you are rewiring your brain, you are getting to that most optimal state, to that most optimal lifeline, which I call the Freedom Lifeline, where you're going to be able to make $1 million doing what you love, and also you're going to be able to wake up in the morning with a spring in your step. You're going to be excited about life, and you're going to know deep in your heart that you are doing what you're meant to be doing in your life. In the past few lessons, we covered some of the most important success principles that you need to follow in order to really radically change your life. And we started off with embarking on your own journey. I talked about that in the first lesson of the program, which was very, very significant. You know, for most people, they never embark on their journey. They never embark on this journey of figuring out what they should be doing in life, this journey of figuring out what it is that their personal destiny calls them to do, and what their freedom lifeline looks like, and how they should achieve that, how they should actually get there. So we covered that in the first lesson. After that, we covered the most important success lesson of all, how success is a mindset, and how important it is to, when you venture out on the journey, to understand that this is a process that's going to last your entire life. It's not just, okay, you're going to watch this program and then, you're going to have all the answers. No. I've been personally studying success for the past 4 years of my life, maybe even longer if you count, long before I even got into entrepreneurship. I was reading books and things like that, and I really didn't have an intention to get into entrepreneurship, but at the end of the day, I realized that I had to do it because it was the only way for me to be able to live a life of my own creation, of my own design. So in the second lesson, that's what we covered, that success is a mindset, and how important it is to learn and study the greatest people that have lived and that are alive today. And I'm talking about, the millionaires, the billionaires, and not only just wealthy people. Most of the time, in the vast majority of cases, if you achieve greatness in any industry, wealth is just an accompanying factor. It's just something that follows, right? It's just something that follows greatness. We talked about the 5% rule and how you have to figure out what your signature strength is and combine it with a specific business or a specific industry. And if you want to achieve the good life, you want to secure the good life for yourself, you will absolutely have to achieve the top 5% in your chosen industry and in your chosen field. That's exactly what I had to do. I had to achieve the top 5% in online business, in e-commerce, in an online business, education, training, and then that carried over to my YouTube videos, and I kind of all tied it together here. If you're new to my channel, if you're new to this program, if you were just kind of scrolling through YouTube one night and you found me sitting here in this beautiful cabin in northern Norway talking about success, my name is Dan Vas. I'm a 24-year-old successful internet entrepreneur and CEO of a multi-million-dollar online business education company where I've got a team of 15 people, 15 employees, and we help tens of thousands of people around the world start successful online businesses and achieve the good life for themselves. And specifically with e-commerce, but we're also branching into other online businesses as well. And just overall, basically helping people achieve that freedom lifeline. That's what this course is all about. And what I'm actually doing here, if this is the first lesson that you found just by scrolling through YouTube and you kind of just showed up here, then what this is the How to Make Your First Million course. And I titled this course in a very, very specific way. Like, this is not some kind of buy Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, get rich quick scheme. This is real life. This is my story. This is about how, what I discovered along my own journey, going from broke, from lost in life, from a broke 20-year-old kid, 40K in college debt, the story, right? Going from that to where I am today, where I am on my freedom lifeline, which is what I call that lifeline that everybody has once they actually venture out on their own journey to success, where you're able to make millions of dollars doing what you love. You're able to achieve the top 5% in your industry, and you truly know in your heart that you are doing what you're meant to be doing, and you're walking through your own door. And that actually brings us to the topic of this lesson. This lesson is all about walking through your own door. And this is so, so important. This is by far the most important thing to realize, the most important success principle to really grasp and understand when you're starting out on your journey to success, because the amount of people that I've seen, and this is just me looking at my own friends, this is just me looking at my own surroundings, I guess, people that I've met, acquaintances, right? The amount of people that I've seen that they just follow other people's dreams and they don't think for themselves. Like, they literally don't think for themselves. I'll just give you an example from my personal life, right? So, there were a few people that I didn't really talk to, that I didn't really know. Maybe I knew them like 10 years ago or something when I was younger. They saw my success and they saw that, okay, he made a YouTube channel, he started talking about online business, and he released an Amazon course. That's what I did in 2017. That was my first successful program that I released online, and then that's what I turned into my successful company that I own today, where, like I said, we've helped tens of thousands of people start successful online businesses. But basically, just to give you an example from that, so many people that I've known in my life, they saw what I did, and they tried to copy what I did word for word, literally word for word. Like, they found a way to get into my course with a fake name. They'd buy the course and they would pretend that, they were just a normal student of the course, and they would literally just go, they would create their own YouTube channel, and then they copied all my videos, all my titles. Obviously, they would be doing it. It's not like they're copying, pasting the videos on their channel, but literally they're copying everything to the T. And I've seen this happen so many times, and it's normal. Success attracts competition, right? So especially when you're one of the first people, and I was one of the first people to release a successful course on how to start an online business on Amazon FBA. At the time, when I was just starting out with my online business journey, my first business was an Amazon FBA business. And I'm still continuing in that field today, of course. That's how I've grown my company to a multi-million-dollar e-commerce and e-commerce training company, where half of our team, they're million-dollar e-commerce sellers and brand owners. And so that's how we're able to actually change people's lives and help them start successful businesses. But to give you that example, like, I've seen so many people try to copy and do exactly what I do, and they fall flat on their face. What they don't realize is that it was never their door in the first place. You can't walk through Dan's door. You can't walk through someone else's door. You can't. You have to walk through your own door. If you want to achieve success, you have to be honest with yourself, because every single person has a unique trajectory to success, has a unique story, and has a unique destiny. Just because you see someone is making a tremendous amount of money doing something doesn't mean that you will automatically make a tremendous amount of money doing that thing as well. So not walking through your own door, by far, is the greatest danger to your success. It's going to be the greatest impediment. The longer you're not honest with yourself, the longer you don't truly do the thinking that's required, do the self-analysis that's required alone, right? This is really something that you have to do alone. You have to think about, what is my story? What is my journey? What is my door? And it's normal to not know what it is. If you just started watching this program and you haven't been able to watch the lessons before, maybe you didn't see them and this is the first video that you ran into here, I highly recommend going to lesson 1, starting with that lesson, because all of those success principles that I covered previously, they led up to this. And how I structured this course is to take anybody in the world, no matter if you're a guy or girl, if you're from Canada, the United States, from Europe, from Norway, where I'm at right now, from France, from China, from South America, anywhere in the world. I want to show you, I want to give you all these success principles that I've learned and that have so drastically changed my life, that have allowed me to achieve happiness, fulfillment, and have allowed me to achieve my personal freedom lifeline at a young age, right? So that's the point. You want to have wealth and success at a young age, and you can do that if you learn these principles. So that is the point of this course. Make sure that you watch lesson 1 and you watch everything in order. I recommend watching one lesson at a time. Now, if you've already watched the previous ones, awesome, let's continue. So just like I gave you that example from my personal life, I've seen it happen with me. I've seen it happen with other people that I've known in business, where they basically walked through the door and they turned that into wealth, happiness, success, and fulfillment. And what happened was they got a bunch of copycats, people that tried to just basically copy them and plagiarize their stuff. And not only plagiarize their stuff, I guess a better way to explain it would be they just tried to plagiarize and steal their journey, right? So when something is your thing or not, And for myself, when I was starting out in my own online business journey, right, in the previous lesson, we actually planned out our dream life, right? So remember, we did that exercise where we wrote down exactly what you want in the next 2 years, right, what you want to achieve. So when I wrote that down for myself, I knew my goals and I knew how much money I wanted to make in the next 2 years, which was $2 million, which, by the way, was an incredible amount of money for me at the time. I mean, I did not expect to I did not know how that was possible. I knew that it was possible. And because I had learned through reading all these self-development books that I should set a goal that I know is possible. And if it's possible, I should definitely aim for it. So I set all those goals, right? And I didn't know that I would end up doing YouTube. I didn't know that I would, end up getting into e-commerce. This was right before I actually found out about e-commerce, right? Which is my own personal journey to success. I'm not advocating e-commerce. This course is not at all about trying to get you to start an e-commerce business. We will talk about the best actual income streams and the best businesses for you to start if you're unsure of your thing, if you're unsure of what you should be doing, then I will help you, point you in the right direction. That's it for a future lesson. But right now, the most important thing is to understand that you must walk through your own door. And you'll know when something is your thing. You'll know when something is your door or not. And you'll also know when you're just trying to fake it, when you're just trying to copy someone else's path. Throughout history, there have been millions and millions of people who tried to pursue things that were not at all aligned with their personal destinies. And what happened as a result? They just wasted their time and they pursued goals that were not at all in favor of the good life for them, basically, right? In society, it's very easy to see dollar signs. You see someone making a ton of money. This is just like the example that I had, right? Where, I started my YouTube channel and then I talked about success in e-commerce, and then I was asked to create a training program for Amazon FBA and teaching people how to start that. So, for me, that was very successful. But that doesn't automatically mean it's going to be successful for someone else. Everyone has to walk through their own door, right? And going back, if you watched one of the previous lessons, which you should have if you're following this course step by step, it's important to really follow this course as I laid it out, because I'm kind of peeling away. I'm going deeper and deeper, layer by layer, into the mindset of success so that you will be able to hook onto your freedom lifeline. At the end of this course, you'll be able to be on the right path for you, and where money will come to you and success will come to you, happiness will come to you, and everything will align, right? The other example previously that I mentioned was I grew up in a city called Toronto, Canada, right? It's one of the largest cities in Canada, and basically in Toronto, there is an overabundance of real estate agents. And I would drive down Yonge Street or Bathurst Street or any of the major streets, and you would just see just nonstop real estate ads of different brokers. It would literally say for example, Ashley Barron, right? It would just say Ashley Barron and then sales representative, or Ashley Barron sales broker or something like that, right? And there would be a tremendous amount of real estate agents. I mean, it's crazy, right? And as a kid, I would think to myself, wow, why are there so many real estate agents in the city? And now I understand that the reason why there were so many real estate agents and so many brokers was because people that were unsure of what they should be doing, they weren't really making money, right? They were looking for a way to make money, and basically they were looking for their freedom lifeline, although they didn't really know. Most people don't know about this concept of the freedom lifeline, how you will be successful by following your own personal destiny, not by just copying someone else because someone else is making money, right? So now I understand that all of those people, they might have seen their friends, they might have seen just people around them, who were in real estate in that field, and they were making money, right? And to them, maybe their friend was driving a Mercedes-Benz car, and they're like, whoa, they're living a luxurious life. I can do that too, right? Well, what they didn't understand was that success doesn't work that way. It's not about the industry you're in. It's not about the business you're in. It's not about, buying this specific stock or buy Bitcoin or buy real estate. It's none of that. It's about following your personal destiny, walking through your own door. Now, I will say, of course, the top 5%, if you are a real estate agent and you were in the top 5% of real estate agents in Toronto or in any city, you would be making a tremendous amount of money. But the only way to actually get into that 5%, into the top 5%, let's say as a real estate agent, that would have to be a part of your freedom lifeline. And if being a real estate agent is a part of your freedom lifeline, then you, for example, will be called to do it. When you know that something is for you, your gut is pulling you there, your emotions are pulling you there. Every single day you wake up and you're thinking about it, okay? And you don't have any bad feelings about it, right? If you are thinking about something, but you also have this, kind of is this really for me feeling? It's likely not for you. And I've seen this personally where a lot of people, they try to start, for example, e-commerce businesses, right? Because that's what we do. We help people in our company start e-commerce businesses, and we do e-commerce ourselves. I've seen it where some people, they try to start e-commerce, but they're also not totally motivated. And now I know why. It's because it's not their door. They were never meant to succeed with e-commerce in the first place. Although I do think that every single person can succeed with building an online business. Now I understand that, perhaps e-commerce is not for everyone, right? It's still an amazing business, Like I succeeded with it when I was starting out in my own journey. When I found out about e-commerce and when I found out about Amazon FBA and selling products on Amazon specifically, this is how I felt and this is how I knew it was my door. I found out about it because I had typed in how to make money online on YouTube, just like probably maybe you did, and that's how you ended up here, which is honestly amazing to even think about that I would, my videos and my content and my like what I have to say is on YouTube and people are able to watch it and I'm able to do it in such an amazing setting like here in northern Norway. It's amazing to think about and consider. That's what can happen when you're on your Freedom Lifeline. But when I found out about Amazon FBA and I was searching through YouTube, how I felt was super excited. And I realized right away, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. This is something that I can actually do. This doesn't require a lot of money for me. So for example, to start an Amazon FBA business, I knew that I needed only $1,000 to $2,000. And for me, that was something that was achievable. That's how much money I had. And I knew that I could replenish that money just in case I failed or just in case, I lost some money on my first few products that didn't work out. Because I also understood that failure was a natural part of success, which is gonna be another lesson here in this program as well. So important to really approach failure with the right mindset. So how do you know that you're on the right path? How do you know that what you're pursuing is meant for you? When you're walking through your own door, you experience true, genuine happiness and fulfillment. So whether it's being a real estate agent, just as an example that I gave earlier, whether it's doing product research, trying to find a product to sell on Amazon, whether it's starting your own fitness coaching business, whether it's creating YouTube videos about fitness and health, whether it's starting your own clothing brand, you will feel true and genuine happiness when you are following your own path in your own door. For me, the pursuit towards an absolutely incredible life motivates me like nothing else, the pursuit and conquering new goals. Now, there's something very, very important to consider as well. There's a flip side to the coin, and because life isn't all unicorns and rainbows, we also have to be realistic. Important, and I call this to be optimistic but realistic. Right? So you want to be optimistic about everything. You want to assume that everything will go well for you and that everything will go well in the world no matter what you're looking at. But you also want to be realistic, right? You don't want to kind of be, you don't want to have your head in the clouds, as they say. So on the flip side of that coin, where I said that happiness is what awaits you when you are following your own door, and that's how you're feeling when you're actually following and doing your thing. On the flip side of that, you need to make sure that whatever you are actually pursuing has the potential to make you money, has the potential to get you the good life. And for the good life, you need wealth and money. You need an income of at least, and I'm going to say at the very least, $10,000 a month. Okay, because that's about it's $120,000 per year, and with that income, if you have an online business set up creating you that income, then that's enough money where you can basically travel to any countries. Like for example, where I'm at today, Norway. Incredibly beautiful country. I absolutely love it here. It is also the second most expensive country in the world, I think, after Switzerland. I might be getting that wrong. It might be either Iceland or Switzerland, but basically Norway, very expensive country, right? Very expensive. I don't really notice it because at a certain point, obviously, like once you reach a certain level of wealth, then I don't know if this is for everyone, but like for me, when I go to the grocery store, right, of course the prices for food here are probably a little bit higher than what I'm used to back in Canada and probably a little bit higher than back in America. Although I don't really notice it per se because I'm not like looking at the prices of food. For me, I'm operating at a different level now, and for me, the money that I have, I'm always thinking about it as a tool. Right, I'm always thinking about it as like, what can I do to grow my business using this money? How can I spend this money to reach more people in the world, to change more people's lives? Right, so that's what you're going to be thinking about in the future once you actually achieve higher and higher levels of wealth. Although there are definitely millionaires out there, maybe even billionaires, who look at the price of everything. For me, that's just a life of stress. I can't live like that. I have enough things to worry about, like fulfilling my life mission and my life's purpose. And I don't want to be looking. I didn't get rich. I didn't achieve freedom to look at the price of everything and worry about how much a mango costs at the store. Right? What's also important to consider when you are walking through your own door is to recognize the goals that you've been conditioned to chase after by society. Right? So just to give you an example. In the society that I grew up in Canada, and this is very similar to America, and I would say most Western cultures, we're conditioned to chase money from an early age. And the way that I was conditioned was, okay, everyone drives cars in Canada because our public transport isn't the best, and just the way that the country is organized. It's a really big country, lots of land. To get anywhere, you really need to drive, unless you're like living in the center, in the downtown of a city, like in downtown Toronto. Since I was a kid, society conditioned me to look at the cars that people were driving, and it almost conditioned me to judge people by the car that they were driving. So, if someone was driving if I saw someone driving like a Toyota Camry, in my head, subconsciously, I'd be like, oh, they're not rich. They're just like, middle class. Maybe they're like on the poor side a little bit, or they're just like regular, average. And then at the same time, society conditioned me to, believe that, oh, if I see someone driving a BMW or an Audi, they probably have some money, they're probably successful, they have their life in order. If I saw someone driving a Ferrari or Lamborghini, I would be like, whoa, this guy or this girl is like filthy rich, right? So that's what I was conditioned to believe. And logically, and it's honestly unfortunate that society works this way, at least in the West. But since we are so conditioned to chase money, everything, like literally everything that people do when they wake, from the time that they wake up in the morning, and I'm not talking about the gym or any like health-related activities, everything other than the gym and health-related activities, people do to make more money. And I can say honestly that I operate by the same kind of way of life. Yes, everything other than the gym I do to make more money. But there's a very big difference. There's a very, very big difference. For me, the goals that I am chasing, quote unquote, or going after, they're on my freedom lifeline. Like, this is aligned with my personal destiny. And in fact, I'm not chasing money. I have more money than I could ever use in the world. Like, seriously, I wouldn't say that I'm a billionaire or anything like that, but I'm not doing this for money at all. Like, I'm doing what I am doing. I'm sitting here creating this free course because for me, the most fulfilling thing in the world is to have people's lives change from my content. Get on my phone, open people's messages, in 3 months, 6 months, a year after watching this course. And I want to see, for example, I want to see the message where you message me like, Dan, I watched your How to Make Your First Million course and my life changed completely. Now I'm successful, I am wealthy, I'm on my freedom lifeline. I already discovered my life mission, which is to help people live better lives. And so, everything that I do is basically revolving around that. So for me, those goals are actually aligned with my door and with my freedom lifeline. But what I was referring to when I was talking about how I was conditioned in society to basically, why am I going to school? Why am I going to university? Why do I have to do all these things? Oh, well, it's to make sure that you make money so that you can survive and you can feed yourself and things like that. And then maybe you'll one day become successful. You'll make 6 figures a year, and then wow, you get to wear a suit to work. You get to buy a nice BMW, and you get to impress your neighbors and your friends. Wow, what a life! Right? That's what I was conditioned to kind of go after. And I think that you might be nodding, behind the screen right now. You might be like, wow, yes, like absolutely. I was also conditioned in this way if you're from a Western culture, a Western society like myself. And I would say that, a lot of this conditioning, you have to be careful because this leads people to pursue goals that are not aligned with the lifeline where they would actually be the happiest. I'll give you an example. So many students, so many young adults, right? So I'm talking about 18-year-olds. They go to university, they go to college, and they study business. Why? Because they've been conditioned by society to believe that if I go to university, if I go to school and I study business, I will have a higher chance of having money and being rich, when it's actually not true at all, right? Like, it's literally supply and demand. Literally, if you look at any school in Canada or the United States, the amount of people that are studying business degrees and you look at the jobs that they get out of school, this is actually the perfect demonstration of the top 5%. Only the top 5% of graduates get good jobs. The rest, so many people, you know how it is. Student debt is a complete scam back in the West. Like the fact that university costs literally between $20,000 to $100,000 a year if you live on campus in the United States. It's the most atrociously unreasonable thing in our society in the West, right? In Canada, our university is a little bit cheaper because part is subsidized by the government, but it's still expensive. Like my parents weren't able to actually help me with my university. I had to figure it out myself, and I'm actually grateful for that because that led me to entrepreneurship. That led me to figure out a way out of that. It led me to figure out like this whole thing about the success mindset and how I can actually become successful on my own through self-education. I don't need formal education. And in fact, self-education allowed me to make enough money to be able to pay off my $40,000 in student debt in one payment. I was conditioned by society to believe that, okay, if I get student debt, I'm going to be able to slowly pay it off. It might take me 10 years, 20 years, but eventually I'll pay it off, no problem, right? And it's shocking for me to even think about it, but back then I was like, yeah, like that sounds okay. Like I'll go to school, I'll get myself, 10 or whatever, 40K in student debt, and then I'll pay it off in 10, 20 years. How stupid is that? It's so illogical. And that was a prime example of going after goals that society conditioned me to go after. You really have to escape the prison of the conditioning of society. Everything we were conditioned to. Only do things that are aligned with your door. Only do things that make you happy. I'm not talking about sitting in front of the TV and just eating chips and basically just being lazy. I mean, that'll make a lot of people happy. What I'm talking about is you need to make sure that you're going after the goals that are meant for you. Okay? So, for you, if, for example, the outdoors make you happy, go after those goals, right? So, once you are making money, because like I said, making money is a direct byproduct of following all these principles that I'm teaching you here, that I'm sharing with you. The point of all of this is so that you have a successful business, because I already described how the best way to live a free life is to become an entrepreneur, and you can really do anything in an entrepreneurial way where you're your own boss. And that way you can design your own life, and when you wake up in the morning, you decide what to do. So if you love the outdoors and you really don't care about Ferraris and Lamborghinis and nice cars, well, you should not go after that. It's going to make you unhappy. Just believe me, if you buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, once you do make the money, just because you think it's going to impress the opposite sex, let's say if you're a guy and you think it's going to impress girls and they're going to love you, well, you're only going to attract the wrong type of girl. And at the same time, no one actually cares. People are too worried about themselves, right? So on the street, you might, rev up your engine a few times, and people might look over their shoulder. But at the end of the day, people have way too much shit of their own to care about, right? So that's really the main thing. Make sure that you're going after your own goals, what makes you happy. Going back to that example of when I started doing YouTube videos and all that, and how I had people that copied me, even, a few old friends, which was very interesting to see. Basically what that looked like was, it just looked like a parody. It literally looked like a parody because they mindlessly copied my script, my life script. And, they didn't realize that everybody has their own script. And all you need to do is set out on the journey to actually figure out what that is. Basically choose your own credo and live by it, right? That's what it is. And when I saw these people, and then when they copied my videos, they even, released the same course that I did, right? No one bought it. No one watched their videos. And when they were making the videos, it literally looked like a clown was talking. That's how it looked like. They looked like they hated their life. Literally, they looked like they were in the camera like, hey guys, my name is, blank. And today I'm so happy. Wow, freedom. This is amazing, guys. Okay, buy my course. That's what it looked like. Okay. So that's a prime example of mindlessly copying someone else's script. And what happens is it just turned into a parody, literally a parody. No one will ever make money working towards something that functions outside of the context of their true purpose in life. Because what happens is that they just end up serving someone else's goals and someone else's objectives, and they end up making the other, whatever they're copying, whoever's lifeline they're copying, they end up making them look better, right? And they end up, like, people can recognize when you're kind of not following your lifeline, and when you're just doing something like for the hell of it. People can see it. One of the best tools to really kind of understand whether what you're chasing after, what you're doing, is what you're meant to be doing, is if you have to convince yourself, and you really have to talk yourself into saying yes. Let's say you have to convince yourself into starting an online business, for example. Maybe it's not for you, right? Maybe it's not for you. I do think online business is the best way to achieve freedom nowadays for anybody, right? But for some people, it's not the best. For some people, they might be an athlete, like a professional athlete. That might be better for them if they have a talent, right? So if you have to convince yourself and you have to talk yourself into doing something, then your soul is really saying no. When your soul says yes, you don't have to talk yourself into doing anything. It just happens naturally. Everything just aligns. When you are on your lifeline, and when you are on your journey, which you've already embarked on, if you watched one of the previous lessons, lesson 1, you have to make sure that you are constantly giving yourself positive reinforcement. You're constantly giving yourself, kind of like positivity, like I am moving towards success. Every single day my life is becoming more and more successful, no matter what people tell you. You have to really get hard with your mind. Like every single day, if someone just gives you some BS about how what you're doing is crap and you're gonna fail, in your mind, you have to say, yeah, no, maybe for you, maybe you're going to fail with that if you tried with what I'm doing, but for me, I'm going to succeed. You have to have like the solid conviction. And that's easy to have when you're following your own lifeline, when you're walking through your own door. Just this past summer, I actually went on a cross-country motorcycle trip. I absolutely love motorcycles. For me, it's like, the feeling of riding a motorcycle and feeling the wind and listening to amazing music. I got like this helmet where I got this comm system where I can like talk to I was talking to my friend the whole time. I went with a buddy, right? So we were on 2 bikes. It's just amazing, like riding to the sunset. It's total and complete freedom for me. For someone else, they would really hate it, and they'd be like scared shitless when they're on the bike, right? So you got to walk through your own door, remember, like I said. But when I came back from that trip, when I came back from that trip, right, like as I was kind of finishing up the trip, I remember I was riding the motorcycle down the Icefields Parkway in Banff, which is, I think, according to National Geographic, or maybe before it was considered, or maybe still is, the most beautiful road in the world. It's like this incredibly beautiful mountain road, goes between the mountains. I actually have a series of this trip on my YouTube channel. By the time you're watching this, you can check that out. It's amazing. I basically vlogged the whole thing. So that's there. But as I was going down the road, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, the trip is coming to an end. What am I called to do? Like, what's the next step along my journey, along this Freedom Lifeline? And I knew at that moment that I wanted to read a specific book. I wanted to read this book called Principles by Ray Dalio. And why I wanted to read this book so badly was because I tried to read it before many times. And I had read, in the past few years, over 400 books. This is because, like I said, I'm constantly studying the success mindset. I'm constantly studying the habits of the world's greatest people. I wanted to read this book because I tried reading it before and it was just very difficult. It was a very hard read for me, but I knew that I had to do it. And so when I got back from the motorcycle trip, I took a week off. I announced in my company, hey guys, I'm taking a reading week. So, please, unless it's an emergency, you can text me. But other than that, I'm unplugged. So I sat down for a week and I read this book. And by far, it was one of the best books I read in my life, and definitely the hardest book I read in my life. And the reason why I say the hardest book, I guess I should give some context to what the book is about. So Ray Dalio, he is the founder and CEO, or maybe ex-CEO of Bridgewater. And Bridgewater is the world's most successful hedge fund, considered to be at least the world's most successful hedge fund, where they manage investments and they manage money, right? So money manager. So basically, he decided that he entered this phase in his life where he achieved such financial success in his life. He achieved such progress and such, basically he became one of the greatest people of all time, right? He literally rose to the top 5% in his field. He found his signature strength. Everything that I talked about here in this program, he followed, which actually reinforces everything that I'm saying to an extent, right? Because it gives me confirmation that, like, there you go. That's another example. Ray Dalio, top 5%, rule signature strength, walked through his own door, everything, right? So Ray Dalio, since he got older, I think currently he's like 65 plus, I think maybe 70 something, maybe late 60s. So he decided that he entered this new phase in his life where he wanted to share his wisdom and he wanted to help others succeed. He wanted to give others what he learned through his own journey of, blood, sweat, and tears and building Bridgewater from nothing and achieving billionaire status, right? So he wrote this book. And in the book, it's just filled with this wisdom of his that he learned along his journey. And the reason why it was the hardest book for me to read in my life was because it was the way that he sees the world was very, very almost complex and so advanced, but so logical and rational as well, that it just blew my mind how he saw the world, his mental model of the world. And I thought to myself, okay, I better take action on every single thing that he says to do in the book. One of the things he talked about in the book was how important it is to recognize your own nature as a person. Like just your nature, what you're good at, what you're comfortable with, what environments you thrive in, things like that, right? So how important it is to recognize your own nature and what you really want out of life and make that clear, because that's how you will live your best life. You can't go against your nature. This is like going against your Freedom Lifeline and really walking through someone else's door. You don't want to do that. His quote from the book directly is, "The happiest people discover their own nature and match their life to it." Right? So then I wrote down, what is my nature? I'm going to read some lines that I wrote down here. This is from my Evernote. I actually use Evernote, which is a note-taking app that I think if I sold it today, it'd definitely be worth at least $1 million. All those 400 books that I read, all the success books, I had been taking notes of all of those books in my Evernote, right? Which kind of looks like this, just like, notes. I like the app because I can, if I pull it up on my phone, it's in the cloud. So whatever I write on my phone is going to go to my iPad, my computer, anywhere else I open it up, right? So there's a free version. Any useful links like this, I'll put it down below, like super useful tools, as well as any books that I recommend. So I wrote down, what is my nature? And I wrote down the first thing was, I'm a focused hard worker who loves dreaming big dreams, working hard to make them come true, and help tons of people, millions, even billions, succeed and live better lives through these dreams that I'm following, right? So that's the first thing, and it's very obvious. The fact that I'm doing this, it perfectly aligns with that, with my nature. The second thing is, that I wrote down, I love to travel. I love experiencing new cultures and new places. Currently, I'm in northern Norway. This would be considered business travel for me, but also, I've perfectly integrated my life. There's also an aspect of the good life. You want to integrate your life where your work is your play and there's no you don't need to take a vacation, right? Like for me, this is my vacation, and this is also my work, which is what I call integration. That's really how you build an amazing life. Once you're on your freedom lifeline, you will never need to take a vacation. I never want to take a vacation, right? Really, I never do, because I love what I do. I'm traveling. I make incredible content. No matter where I am, it's amazing, right? I never want to just sit and do nothing. Like once you found your freedom lifeline, you never want to do that, all right? This whole dream of like the 4-hour work week, sitting on the beach, printing money from your laptop, it's unrealistic. It's only for people who have been conditioned through this 9-to-5 mindset of this, like, okay, first you work, then you vacation. Not true. Integrate your life. You will never need a vacation again. The next thing I wrote down was I absolutely love nature, the outdoors, skiing, climbing mountains, and hiking, right? So for me, I know that those things are things that I should be doing regularly. Like right now, I'm filming this in November, and it is a little bit rainy, and the snow hasn't come yet. But I will be here in the winter, and if at least not here, I'll be in Canada, right? And our skiing is incredible, both here in Norway and in Canada. So I know that for me, I can also integrate that into my business. I can make content while I'm skiing. I can make videos while I'm skiing, right? It's amazing. So that's another example of what can happen when you're on your freedom lifeline. Other people, they would hate traveling, right? So for them, they wouldn't be doing that, but there would be another example of integration that would apply to them. The next thing I wrote down was I love talking to the camera and making content. There was a time in my life where I really neglected making YouTube videos, even though that's really what pushed my success above anything, above all, because I was able to share my message with the world, and then I started building this movement of people, started helping people start successful online businesses, and that's what really kickstarted my success. And not too long ago, there was this time in my life where I was just focusing on growing my company, and I neglected social media and making videos. And I realized this was one of the causes of my temporary unhappiness at the time, because I neglected my nature. So this is what can happen if you go against your nature. So now I realize I love talking to the camera and making content, so here I am, I'm doing it, and I feel amazing. Right? I hope you feel amazing too taking this course. I hope it's really valuable to you. Just from the insights here that I've learned in my own life. I've seen how powerful it is. I've seen how transformative it is, how many millionaires it's made, and how many lives it's changed. And I know that it will change yours too if you decide that it will. If you actually follow along, and if you take action and you really take everything seriously. So the next thing that I wrote down was I love meeting new people, and I also value alone time as well. So I would consider myself definitely more of an extrovert than an introvert. I used to think I was an introvert just because some personality test told me, but it was actually completely wrong. And I lived my life as an introvert for, I think it was like 8 months or 10 months or a year, and I was miserable. I really hated my life. So now, I'm traveling, I'm meeting new people, which comes naturally with that, and that is aligned well with my extroversion. I'm actually an extrovert. So, that's another thing to be careful. Just because some test conditions you to believe that you're this specific personality, use your own head, right? And you want to really test. Like, no one can know you better than yourself. So that's what I realized, that I'm definitely an extrovert, and I love, being social, meeting new people, especially when traveling, because then, you get to share experiences that you've had, and you also get to hear other people's experiences that you've never kind of heard before. When I meet people here in Norway, for example, my Norwegian friends, the things that they've been able to experience in their life, I've never been able to do. And the things that I've been able to experience in my life, they've never been able to do, right? So that's super, super interesting and amazing. So that's the first thing. And you want to do this right now. Take a notebook, okay? So I got a notebook right here. Take a notebook and write down at the top, what is my nature? Okay, so write down what is my nature. Pause the video and write down who you are, what your nature is. The next thing you want to write down is what you want out of your life, and keep it in 1 or 2 sentences, right? Because we already set our dream, we already set our destination for our life. We already have our 2-year vision, and maybe you have your 3, 5-year, 10-year vision as well. But now you want to pause the video and you want to write down, you want to write the question, what do I really want out of life? And so I'll just give you an example for me, what I wrote down. I wrote, I want to live a happy, fulfilled, amazing, and successful life filled with incredible experiences, amazing relationships with people around the world, and meaningful work that is benefiting the world on a massive scale. So that is what I wrote down as what I really wanted out of life. As you can see, I kept it in 1 sentence as a long sentence, but you can do 1 or 2 sentences. Just really think about what you want out of life. You can write like location independence. You want to become a successful entrepreneur, right? Mine was pretty deep. It doesn't have to be that deep. So just what your heart is telling you to write, put that down. And then I also wrote down, I want to be known as one of the greatest entrepreneurs and people who lived in the 21st century. So for me, that's a very big motivator of mine. I know that I can do it. I know that I can I'm destined to, for entrepreneurship, and I know that I can achieve the top 5% of entrepreneurs in the world, and I'm alive in the 21st century, which is the best century of all. So, it's amazing, and I know that that's what I want out of life. So write that down, and then come back when you're finished with that. Okay, good. You wrote it down. So the next thing you want to write down is, what does success look like to me? What do I value? And I'll just share some things that I wrote down for this. To me, success is contribution through business on a global level. Travel and new experiences, epic experiences, work that inspires others and changes people's lives. Achieving business success through amazing relationships, right? So that plays on my extroversion. And I also wrote down, my work is known throughout the world and my name is respected and famous, right? For the work that I've actually put out and for the value that I've given to the world. So for me, that's a very driving motivator. And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer for this. Like if success to you literally looks like Lamborghinis and nice jewelry and things like that, there's no problem with that. No one can tell you that's wrong, right? But you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. If success to you looks like a mansion on the beach in Hawaii, that's fantastic. Write that down. So now that you've written those things down, it's suddenly become a lot clearer what your door is, right? All these things we're doing are allowing you to discover what your path is, and they're making you get closer and closer to your freedom lifeline. Now, one really important thing that will really help you kind of get onto your freedom lifeline faster is to mentally motivate yourself and do everything you can to put your mind in the right place so that it encourages you and motivates you. Part of walking through your own door is to make sure that you're doing everything in your mind to attract it. So right now, as you're watching this program, you probably are enthusiastic and excited about your life. And what happens with motivation, right? And this is why motivation also isn't the best thing to actually rely upon in your life. You really have to rely upon everything else that we discussed, like the excitement of the future fulfillment you're going to get by achieving your freedom lifeline and your happiness. Feelings of excitement and motivation fade over time. So, right now, the excitement that you're feeling as you're watching this program, as you're learning all of these transformational success principles, it's going to fade after you finish watching the program. And I really don't want you to kind of regress to the old life you were living. I want you to come back to me in 3 to 6 months, a year, and send me messages on Instagram, on Facebook. I've got platforms like everywhere. I want you to be one of those people who sends me that message and tells me how much your life changed from this series here, from this free course that I'm doing on YouTube. So that's why it's so incredibly important to continuously nourish that feeling of excitement that you're getting, that little flame of enthusiasm that is growing inside of you. And the best way of doing this is to observe how your life is moving in a better direction every single day. Every day, observe how much better your life is getting. Like literally, anything that happens to you, even if it's a small thing, if it's a big thing. If you got, let's say you started an e-commerce business, you got one sale, right? That's amazing. Just anything that will motivate you, that will nourish that little flame inside of you, that you want to turn it into a fire of motivation and enthusiasm, right? That's the point. You want to make sure that your mind is your friend and not your enemy. Another thing, and this is incredibly, incredibly important, if you set a large financial goal, so just like my example, I set the goal of $2 million within a year and a half or within 2 years for my 2-year vision, right? And I did achieve that, made over $2.5 million by the end of that 2 years, which is incredible. And it's not something that won't happen to you. Like it definitely can happen to you. It's proof that my method works. It's proof that this stuff, it's not my method. It's just like, these are the success principles that I've learned myself from reading books from mentors and that I'm giving to you here. One of the things that I've learned was I have to start getting comfortable with wealth and with the things that come with financial success. So how that looked like, for example, was when I wrote down my dream car, at the time it was an Audi R8, I decided to go to the Audi dealership where they sold the Audi cars, and I decided to test drive it, or at least look at it, right? And I showed up there, and I remember I looked like a normal 20-year-old kid, just like, literally, I think I was wearing like a Hollister shirt. I'm not even kidding. I was wearing like a Hollister shirt and like gym shorts. I just got out of the gym, and I'm like, that's it. I'm going to the Audi center. No one can do anything about it. And I went there, and I asked for an Audi test drive. And they made up like some bullshit excuse about why they couldn't give it to me, because obviously they saw me, they took 2 looks at me, and they're like, hey, this guy can't afford an Audi. And I couldn't. They were right. I would have just wasted their time. But the fact that I was in that dealership at the time, and the fact that I was there and I was looking at cars to buy, right? That almost tricked my subconscious and made it believe that this is part of who I am. Yeah, I'm just a guy who goes to Audi dealerships and he's looking for an Audi to buy in the future. It's normal, right? So it's crazy how powerful your subconscious mind is. Now, I'm not saying, go to your Lamborghini dealership and test drive a Lamborghini, right? And again, life is not all about nice cars. You must make sure that whatever you're doing is actually aligned with your personal destiny and your freedom lifeline. But what I am recommending you is to be conscious about your beliefs towards money. How can you expect to get wealthy, become wealthy and rich, if every time you walk into a nice store like Louis Vuitton or Versace or Rolex or something like that, like a fancy jewelry store, right, like a high-end shop, if every time you get a heart attack, right? How can you expect to achieve wealth if that's what happens to you? I can tell you the first time I walked into, I think it was a Rolex store in Toronto at Yorkdale, which is like a very big mall there, the shopping center. I walked in and I literally had a heart attack. I mean, I walked in because out of curiosity, right? But when I walked in, I was like literally just had like myocardial infarction, right? So I had to really kind of get better at that. And the way that I did it was by following these daily exercises that I'm going to share with you in one of the future lessons, which is I wrote down my goals and I visualized myself achieving success as if I already had what I wanted today. And that was super powerful because then eventually, when I actually started making the money to be able to afford, a nice watch, for example, like the watch that I'm wearing is a Rolex. I didn't particularly dream of Rolex watches. It's something that I started liking after I gained my success because I realized how nice a nice looking watch can make you look, and also how it makes you feel. Like the fact that I'm wearing this watch right now and the fact that it's on my wrist, every time I look at it, it reminds me of my journey and how I went from zero, how I'm self-made, how I went from zero to success, how I built everything in my life. Everything that I've built is a result of my own work. So that's what this is for me. And so through this conditioning, through becoming comfortable with wealth and, almost being this new identity that I am moving towards my life, I became comfortable. And when I actually walked into the store, it was like a Rolex dealer to actually buy the watch, I was totally comfortable, and I almost threw off the salesperson because she saw how young I was. And obviously, people, they prejudge, they profile you, right? And so she saw me and she was like, okay, like there's no way this guy's buying a Rolex. So when I walked in there, I was so confident and I was so comfortable with it. It's like going down the street to like pick up some food or something, right? Or going down the street to the gas station to like buy a pack of gum, for example, right? So that's how I treated it. And then the salesperson, she actually treated me in the same way. She was like, okay, like she then accepted it. But after the first few moments that I walked in there, she was very like, I don't know. But then obviously my confidence threw her off. And then, she realized that, okay, yeah, he can actually afford a nice watch. So there's an amazing quote. It goes like this, perfectly describes this, by the way. Until a person lets the attributes of wealth into their comfort zone, and until they learn how it feels to be the owner of expensive things, they will remain poor even if they find a buried treasure. Think about that for a second. All right? So you must get comfortable with high-end and expensive things. Like, who said that you can't have expensive things? Who's making up these rules? Who said that? Nobody. No one's saying that, right? No one's saying that. And that's something that I had to really realize. I thought that, no, like I would never buy a Rolex watch. That's just not who I am. It's not for me. This is really expensive. Who would spend over $10,000, $15,000 on a watch, right? So obviously that was my past programming, past conditioning that was haunting me, and it was destroying me. So the point is, if you're afraid of walking into nice stores and expensive shops, you'll never be rich. If you can allow yourself to have the life that you want, just allow yourself every single day. Just tell yourself, I allow myself success. I allow myself riches. I allow myself wealth. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, right? I allow myself success and I allow myself the good life. You will achieve it. It will come to you, right? Your subconscious, whatever your subconscious feels, it will attract that into your life. To give you an example in this, in the country that I was born in, I was actually born in Latvia, which is a country in Eastern Europe. And until 1991, Latvia used to be a part of the Soviet Union, which was Russia at the time, communist Russia. And so when the Soviet Union fell in 1991, this was before I was born, a few years before, and my parents were living there, and it was chaotic, and obviously their whole lives were kind of turned upside down for everybody that was living there because their country just collapsed, right? Or the entire country they were living in and that they grew up in just collapsed. What happened was, at the time in 1991, there was a certain handful of people in Russia and in these countries, in Latvia and around, that while everyone was kind of running around in the streets chaotically, completely in shock, and they were operating from this extreme scarcity, extreme survival of the fittest kind of mindset, like we're just trying to survive, right? We barely have anything to go around, like society is crumbling, everything is chaos. There were a handful of people who decided that was the perfect time for them to achieve wealth and achieve success, because they understood that while blood is running in the streets, it's the best time to make money and to achieve success and to really turn your life around. Because, when everyone's running away, that's precisely the time when, there's the least amount of competition for actually getting started and achieving success. So, so many people in Russia, in post-Soviet Union Russia, they got incredibly rich. They're known today as Russian oligarchs. Maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. But I'm talking about all those Russian billionaires who own the yachts, right? And they're the owners of all these oil companies or petrochemical companies, right? So what they did to actually become rich was in 1991, when communist Russia fell, when the Soviet Union fell, basically business was never allowed up until that point, and all of these things that the government owned, the government starts to sell it off for super cheap. So all these mines, all these oil refineries, all these oil rigs and petrochemical plants, all these factories, they sold all of that off for like pennies on the dollar. And there were a handful of people who recognized the opportunity, and they decided to go after that. They decided to say, that's it, this is mine, let's go, I'm signing the document, boom, it's mine. And that is exactly how all these billionaires became so rich today, because they allowed themselves to have the wealth. They gave themselves permission to go after, the dreams. They gave themselves permission to go after success. They allowed it into their life. So that is my point. You have to allow success into your life. The ones who achieve wealth, success, and fame and abundance are the ones who do not buy into this deception of thinking that others are better than them. So allow yourself to have every single day. Tell yourself, whenever you're feeling kind of down, whenever you're wondering if everything's going to work out, just tell yourself, I allow myself to have, everything will work out, and I will be successful. God has already given man the ultimate gift, the freedom of choice. You choose whether you're successful or whether you're going to be miserable, whether you're going to be broke, whether you're not going to be on that freedom lifeline. It's your choice. And it's so important to also erase any doubt in your mind. When you have no doubt in your mind, your thought energy is tuned to your freedom lifeline. And on your freedom lifeline, that's where, you're king in your industry or queen. And when you have no doubt in your mind, your thought energy is tuned to your freedom lifeline. And on your freedom lifeline, whether, maybe you're destined to be a celebrity actor, a famous actor, right? And you're king or queen. Maybe you're destined to be a world famous entrepreneur or a world famous doctor, right? So when you have no doubt in your mind and you've chosen to succeed, you've chosen what it is that you want, you got you to your vision, right? There's nothing that can stop you. Treat it as if you're just going down the block to get some food, some takeout food, or just, to grab a pack of gum from the store, or just to grab a pack of cigarettes, for example. Obviously smoking is bad, but it's just an example. Something that I've been personally doing in my own life, and it's really, really helped me, and this will surely help you, is as I live my life, I genuinely believe that I have a higher force, a higher being helping me, and I call that higher being God, by the way. I genuinely believe that I have a higher being, God, helping me in achieving what I want for my life, and achieving my destiny, achieving my freedom lifeline, so that when I die, everything was how it was supposed to be. I put in my all, and I achieved my life's potential. So even if you are not religious, right, and you don't have to be religious at all for this, that's my point. This is not a religious program. I'm just sharing with you, the things that have worked for me. Even if you are not religious at all, with any religion, just treat it as if you have a guardian angel following you around and helping you. And every time you achieve some kind of success, any kind of success, thank your guardian angel for that. Thank your guardian angel for helping you achieve that. Because, the more you're grateful, this feeling of being grateful attracts more and more success. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. The biggest secret of all is you can truly have anything you want. The world is so rich and so full of abundance. That's what you have to believe, because it is. It really is, right? Even in the worst economic crisis, that's when, certain people are making tremendous amounts of money, right? So no matter what, in an economic boom, in an economic depression, recession, right? The world is an abundant place. And you have to believe that there is enough, more than enough for everyone, if they all follow their freedom lifelines. People are miserable and broke and poor when they don't follow their freedom lifeline, when they try to steal from others, when they try to walk through someone else's door, and they try to blatantly copy, plagiarize someone else's lifeline. The truth about life is that happiness does not await the person who does not live along their own freedom lifeline. Actually, they'll be miserable. So what is your door? What is your door? Maybe it's clear to you. Maybe you didn't really know before, but now it's coming together and you have a feeling. Whatever your heart is telling you, pay attention to it, because your intuition is an amazing indicator of what you should be going after, what you should be doing in life. I can tell you, my intuition was almost always right. Almost always, in 99.9% of cases, almost always right. And the times that I didn't follow my intuition, and the reason why I did achieve success, why it came so quick to me, was that I followed my intuition for everything. Got me into entrepreneurship, got me into online business, got me into studying the success mindset, reading books, right? So take your intuition, pay attention to it, and whatever it's telling you, right? If you feel like now you can see kind of what your door is, leave a comment down below. Tell me what your door is. And I talked about how important it is to follow all these little things that I'm saying, all these action steps, because, it's easy not to do the little things, but it's also easy to do them. And the price of not doing the little things is massive. So leave a comment down below and tell me what your door is, right? And it's going to be so interesting to see what everybody's door is, because for everybody it's different. And all of our success journeys are unique. I'm going to be down there in the comments. I'm going to be replying. So it's also an amazing way to communicate with me and talk to me directly. I also have a Facebook page where I share my daily wisdom, all the greatest success lessons that I'm learning, as well as books that I'm reading, and any of my thoughts, recent thoughts and things like that I've been kind of wondering about that will help you achieve success and achieve a better life. You can find my Facebook page down below. You can like it. It's Dan Vas on Facebook. I've also started doing something recently called a Freedom Weekly email. And basically, I have this Freedom email list. There's also a link down below to sign up. It's free, where I send out an email every single week with all the most important life lessons that I've learned, all the best books that I've read, and any and all lessons to do with achieving the good life, achieving happiness, achieving success, freedom, fitness, health, amazing relationships, and everything to do with a good life. So you can also find that down there, as well as all the other books that I recommend. And make sure you buy the books. Make sure you get them. And I'm not telling you that because I make some cents or dollars from the book links. I just did that so that it's convenient for you to, have the Amazon link right there, because Amazon is amazing. I can guarantee you, and I've said this many times, no one on their deathbed, you're not going to regret paying $9 for a book that changed your life. You're not. Even if the book doesn't change your life, even if you get one golden piece of advice, one golden nugget from there, it's going to be worth much more than the $9 that you paid for it, right? So that brings us to the end of this lesson of the How to Make Your First Million course. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. I hope that you've been genuinely enjoying this program. I hope it's been life-changing for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Thank you.